I have an ongoing series where I talk about Black literature and Black authors and kind of give recommendations. I think that it's really important to have an ongoing conversation about race and books and uplifting marginalized authors, and not only do it when, it's a month or it's a time or it comes up in the news. So obviously I'm not the best person to be talking about Black literature. I will leave lots of resources and links description below because I think that it's important to uplift voices. Rather than giving recommendations in one fell swoop, I instead give 5 recommendations, hopefully each month. The first one I'm going to give is Clint Smith. He is an author and he is a poet, and he also hosts Crash Course of Black American History, so if you want that resource, it's amazing. In How the Word is Passed, he goes through American history from Monticello to Confederate graveyards to prisons to alt-right rallies, and kind of goes through how we discuss race and how slavery has vestiges in American history, and he even ends with talking about his grandparents and interviewing them on his own experience of being a Black man and being a father and a husband and a grandson and a son and all of those things. And I think it just is a very well done. I listened to it in all one sitting because it was just really, really amazing and wonderful, and I absolutely loved it. The second book I'm going to be talking about is also history. Each time I also like to do a memoir that is a little bit more personal, and for this one I'm going to be talking about John Lewis and his graphic novel March. I really enjoy the fact that it's personal and it really tells history in a really accessible way, and I think that that's really important for history. So this is written in the early 2010s, and I am actually planning on reading 2 and 3 during nonfiction month next month, so I'm excited for that. But this really just, talks about his early life, talks about him meeting Martin Luther King. I'm really trying to commit to this despite the fact that people are walking around and there's immediate panic. He gets involved in protesting. We kind of really look at this, and I think that it's such an incredible, well-job book at this. I normally try to do one kind of existing / Black joy book and one that is a little bit more hard-hitting. And today both of these have elements of joy and both of them have elements of hardness. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and this is a book that just blew me over the water. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It is kind of Arthurian legend with a Black lead who is at a Southern college taking a summer internship in high school at a college. She gets involved with this kind of like dark academia, secret society, demon-born people, and she's seeing them when she's not supposed to be seeing this, and all of these elements, but it also does a really good job of going through her grief. Her mother has recently died in a car accident. She's also not quite sure that that is completely legitimate and evil in creation. She's also just looking at generational trauma and systematic racism, and there's this really poignant scene where she's kind of going through trying to unpack her grief, and with her counselor, who is also Black, takes her to this graveyard, and she's like, I don't want to walk around here. Might be walking on someone's grave. And she's like, you're definitely going to be walking on people's graves all the time. It's not mine to speak about, but I think in this scene, it was very evident how much we don't think or don't acknowledge how Black folks and other people are, who is underneath our successes. Like, this is at one of the oldest colleges in the continent. All of this, history, and all these Black people don't even have graves, and you can't walk through campus without walking over the graves of those who were enslaved and those who were mistreated. And, it's this fun fantasy story with love and angstiness and, coming of age and all this stuff, but it's also such a great job of dissecting grief and racism. For me, the beginning was a little bit muddled and the end was a little bit muddled, but I'm excited for the sequel. I think that give it an hour on audiobook or probably 100 pages and then see if you'd like it, because for me, the beginning was a little bit I wasn't really situated in the world. The other book that I think is perfect for October is My Sister the Serial Killer, and I love this book so much. The first time I read it, I wasn't sure, and then the second time I read it, I was just blown away. It is this beautiful story about I'm not sure if it's beautiful, but I do enjoy it a lot, and it's about this sister. It's about this sister who keeps on having to clean up her sister's messes / murderers. Her sister has now killed 3 of the men that she's dated, and she keeps on calling her sister, who's a nurse and a little bit of a clean freak, to wipe up and to really, take the bullet for her crime. And it looks so well at dynamics and abuse. Their father was incredibly abusive, but also incredibly popular and well-loved. And they really just lived in the shame of this. They really lived in the shadow of their father's abuse, even though he's been dead for years, in the shadow of grief and how dysfunction and how dynamics and how we really just make ourselves less. And, it is fun because it's a little bit of a thriller. It has some unrequited love and looking at that and looking at dynamics. And it's just a really, really good book that I just want to reread again. I've already read it twice. It's not that hard-hitting in elements of race. It does have conversations on racism and colorism in Africa. It's set in South Africa, but it also has a lot of conversations about sexism and about race and family dynamics and abuse and grief and all of that. So it's not a completely like joyful or book without these conversations, but I think that it is a really well done book. And then I always end with a TBR book, and for this is going to be Ace of Spades. And this is a book that I want to pick up because Legendborn was just so good, and I read Raybearer, and I'm really hoping to get more into YA fantasy. And I don't know a lot about this. I know that there's dark academia, there's kind of maybe some like, you know, A action going on with like texts and stuff like that, but then also them realizing that a lot of these texts are targeted at the 2 Black students at this prep school. But I think there's some fantasy aspects in it, and I'm just very interested to go into it without knowing a lot and to enjoy it. So I think I will pick it up in October and maybe November. Either way, I'm excited to get into it and to read it. And let me know which books by Black authors you've been reading and enjoying. Leave some recommendations, leave some Black booktubers in the comments, and I will really enjoy seeing that. And have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.